Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Podcast with your host, Jeff Lopes. Jeff has over 2 decades experience as a serial entrepreneur, building brands like Kimura from his home basement to a multi-million-dollar global brand that has sold over 250,000 pairs of boxing gloves. Jeff's here to educate, guide, and drive you on the process of bringing your ideas and dreams to reality with the inspiring stories from some of the top business minds.
Welcome to episode number 53 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Excited to have on this week Brodie Kern. Brodie is the founder of Wake Up Wealthy, amazing young entrepreneur with a fantastic future. Sit back, everyone, and enjoy. We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Excited to have on today from Wake Up Wealthy, the founder, Brodie Kern. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm very excited to be here. You know, I really appreciate you working with me. We had some complications with an event we were throwing, and
all good, brother. All good.
Our head coach Julian spoke very highly of you, so I'm excited to dig in today.
Yeah, we had a great conversation. Fantastic guy, which is amazing. So, to our audience, I always start off our podcast just a little quick know of where you are currently in your career, what you're currently doing, and we'll just let the conversation flow from there. So, Brodie, I heard, did you move to Austin, Texas yet, or are you still? Yeah, you have made the move already. When did you make the final move?
So we've been in Austin for about a month. I moved here from Springfield, Missouri, where I grew up. My whole family and I moved down here, and everyone on our team also relocated down here. So we've been really enjoying Austin and having everybody close together.
That's awesome. So you officially just got there a couple weeks ago, I'm assuming?
Yeah, about 4 weeks ago.
How was the transition so far?
We're settled in now. Moving is chaotic. I had done some moving around just by myself, but so I have 4 animals as well. I have 2 cats and 2 dogs, and moving a wife, a 2-year-old son, and 4 animals across the country is logistically harder than anything I've even done inside a business. The whole thing was chaos.
Yeah, of course. So Wake Up Wealthy. Let's go to the journey of this whole project, this whole business of yours. When did it all officially start?
So Wake Up Wealthy has been official for about a little over 2 years. We just crossed the 2-year mark, and really how it started, to kind of give everybody a little backstory, is I'm about to be 27 this week. This is my 3rd business that I have started, but really the best place to kind of talk about where I started. So at 21 years old, I dropped out of college to go to rehab. I had developed a very, very gnarly drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and nearly lost my life at the age of 21. And when I got out of rehab, I was dialed into the 12-step program of AA, and that was kind of my catalyst for self-growth, right? I really started to experience change there. And when I got sober, my life took off because I had all this spent up, alcoholic energy that I really, at that time, applied to real estate. I got into real estate because there was a super low barrier to entry. Got into real estate, did well there, didn't super love the space. And so I left there. I got into brokering some call center deals. I was kind of just on the hustle for about 1.5 years, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was still making good money. I had a great network of people, but I wasn't fulfilled, and I was reaching the level of financial success that I had thought I always wanted, but the fulfillment was not there at all.
So let's go quickly back there. So when you're in the real estate, were you actually a real estate agent? Were you actually buying on your own? What were you doing with the real estate aspect?
I was a real estate agent. Okay. I was buying some properties. I still own some units. But yeah, primarily being an agent, residential home buys. So,
I mean, from real estate to obviously finding a purpose in helping young entrepreneurs, where did that gap feel? Like, did you have a mentor? Like, what pushed you into that gap or into that different area? Because it's a totally different space, right?
Completely. And so, what happened is, growing up, I always I thought good financials was success, right? My definition of success at the time was broken. And when I reached that definition of success, yet I didn't feel the way that I wanted to feel. I didn't feel like a success. There was obviously a gap there. And so, also at this time, I was about to get married. My fiance at the time, now my wife, was pregnant with our son. And I just I wasn't happy. I wasn't, and all the things in my life were there, but it was just a result of me not being happy with myself. And when I looked at what I really enjoyed in life, I knew that I super enjoyed personal development. I mean, and I'm still involved in the program of AA, but after, those first couple of years, I was there every day. Right. And I mean, I was just living and breathing in 12 steps. And, from that, I went on to read a couple hundred personal development books, really, really committed to working on myself and growing on a day-to-day basis. And, I don't know how familiar you are with the program of AA, but in the 12th step of AA, you carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers. And so, being in AA meetings, working with guys who were struggling, that kind of, momentarily when I was there doing that type of work, gave me that feeling that I was looking for. And, I said, okay, well, I like working with men. I really enjoy personal development. I really enjoy business. How do I bring these two areas together? And I started dabbling. I got onto Instagram, started creating some content, went and spoke at a couple of events, and it just all started snowballing from there.
How many years have you been sober now?
About to be 4. So I've been around AA for almost 6 years. I had, at about a year sober, I had a brief relapse. Right in the middle of when I had just gotten into real estate, I had about a 3 or 4 month relapse. So now we're coming up on 4 years.
Yeah. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How's fatherhood? Was that the most amazing thing that ever happened to you?
Dude, I mean, fatherhood is awesome, right? And like it is, it's like, it is the most amazing thing to ever happen. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, when I look at my life now, it's just like, it gave me a peace that I never knew I was looking for. Because I wasn't even really sure if I wanted to have kids. I didn't know if that was in the picture for me or if that was what I wanted. But it brings its own set of challenges. And I mean, I've had so many moments like in the last 2 years where I'm just like, I'm going to remember this moment right here. Right. I'm going to encapsulate this and remember this moment with my child. But you have so many of these moments that it creates this collection of just fucking good energy and gratitude that like, I didn't know was possible.
It's amazing. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm 43. I got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old son. And they become your purpose, right? They become the reason for a lot of self-motivation in a way, right? And then yours is still, 2 years old is still young, but as they start growing and as they start hanging out with dad and start wanting to do stuff with dad, and it's amazing. When you're saying about the memories, one piece of advice, I don't know if you do this or not, lots of pictures and develop your pictures. Yeah. I'm a strong believer, and we have albums and albums and albums of pictures. We develop all our pictures still. And it's crazy is I'll come up on a Sunday afternoon and our kids will be in one of the bedrooms on the floor going through old pictures of 4 or 5 years ago and laughing by themselves and remembering me. So it's a great way to keep the memories going and stuff like that, right? A lot of people put pictures on their phones and again, when the phone breaks and all that memories are gone, right? So it's lots of photos, buddy. Photos and videos. It's great to sit back and look at those moments, those the fun times with your kids.
Yeah, that's really good advice. We do need to develop those. We've been banking them all away, but like you said, I mean, shit can happen.
Yeah. So with Austin, so now, I mean, you guys were very lucky. When I was talking to Julian, your partner, or your head trainer there, is to actually have your team to move and actually relocate. And I run a couple companies and logistically, it would sound almost impossible to be able to do that. So how was that conversation when you said that? How many staff members do you guys have currently?
So currently we have, let's see, we just hired 2, almost 10. And now
how many made the move down with you?
6. So, well, actually we have 5 guys here in Austin, and then our entire sales team, they all live in Vegas. And we can leave them there, but they're all in this little house together. We have 3 guys in Vegas who just close all our deals at their house there. And so they got a really good thing there, and getting everybody centralized here is awesome.
So with everything going on, so a big part of, when I was talking to Julian, a big part of Wake Up Wealthy is actual in-person events. Obviously, life has changed with all the crap that's happened in this world in the last 6-7 months with COVID. You guys just ran an event recently. That was last week?
Last weekend, yes.
Was that your first event since all this happened, or you guys have been still trying to run events?
That's our third one this year.
Oh, it is already. Okay.
Yep. So that's our third one this year. In this event, we're able to make it all happen because so like our core event, the experience that really encapsulates what Wake Up Wealthy is an experience called Evolve. And it's about 10 to 12 guys come out, and it's a boot camp style event where we break them down physically so that they can open up emotionally, do a ton of coaching around it. Truly an amazing experience. And we've done 3 of those this year, and we've been very lucky to be able to do so. The first one that we threw was actually it was crazy because it was in March, and so we did 2 of them at a ranch in northern Idaho, and then we just did this third one down here in Texas, where we will continue to do them. But we went off grid in northern Idaho. It's a 3-day event, and COVID was being talked about, right? Like that was the first time we had to wear mask on the plane, and the airports were dead, but it still wasn't a huge deal. Right. And so we go off grid that weekend, and because there was no phone service up there. And so when we come back, I mean, the whole world had changed. I mean, NBA had shut down, Disney had shut down, everything had shut down. And it was really concerning, man. It was crazy.
It was crazy. It was probably the exact same time what happened with myself. I went to, we grabbed the kids. It was a last minute flight. We jumped on the plane. We went to Cuba. When we left, the day we left, I'm from Toronto, Canada. First off, we're friends from Toronto, Canada. The first day when we left, there was 1 death in the other side of Canada, on the west coast in BC. There was only 1 death through Canada. Planes, flights, everything was still normal. We get there on a Monday. By the Wednesday, we hear on the news that they announced that the kids weren't coming back to school after March break. And then it was every day, something happening. By the time we got back, it was just it felt like the world had just changed, right? Overnight. And that was all within a 5-day window. It was just crazy. So it was probably roughly the same time when we're on our way back. The last day, I got video, Brodie. The last day in Cuba, we were on the beach. People were just trying to get out of Cuba on flights. People were the resort was empty. And this is a massive, a 3,000 people resort. The last day I got video, and it was me, my kids, and my wife at 2 p.m, and we're the only ones on the whole beach. It was the most insane, eerie, the coolest experience, but the most eerie experience. It was just
eerie feeling, man.
Crazy eerie feeling, right? So let's go back to, let me go back. I want to take a huge step back now. Brodie, growing up, did you have entrepreneurial juices? Was this something that you saw yourself? Now you can sit back and, as 27-year-old Brodie, look back and think, you know what? I did these tendencies. I showed these things I did when I was a kid probably were advocates or trials to show that I had that entrepreneurial push in me, or is this something that you had a different mindset for career?
It's funny. I get this question on podcasts, and the answer is not really. I mean, sure, there were little things here and there, me selling some shit, whatever. But dude, I truly had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I grew up in 2 separate households. My parents were never together. They were 17 when they had me. And one household, I had an alcoholic parent who was. It was just a very chaotic childhood there. And then the other half of the time I had a really, really good situation, but still I was constantly traumatized from my split time at the other household. And so, I was never thinking forward to the future a lot. I played very competitive baseball, and I guess if I really thought I would probably do that. But most of my childhood was spent me trying to stay out of harm's way. So I wasn't thinking. Future.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about that quickly. I like diving into that because I'm a big baseball guy. So where did you play high school baseball? Did you end up trying to get to college?
Played. So I played in a very competitive team growing up. Traveled all over the country, and then I played at a high level in high school, and was looking at going to continue to play in college. But at this time, my love for drugs and alcohol had really started to develop. And I made the decision.
What age were you when you started playing around with drugs and alcohol? How young were you?
So I started playing around with low level stuff, like smoking weed, drinking a little bit when I was 13. And then by the time I was 16, I was experimenting with hard drugs, doing cocaine, ecstasy, pills. And so by the time I was 18, where it was like, okay, you need to make the decision to, go play baseball. And it's not like I was getting recruited by D1 schools. You know what I mean? Like my path was going to be, I can go play JUCO for 2 years and then go to a D1
What position did
school.
you play?
I played catcher my entire life. And so that just, it didn't seem like a fun path. And like there was this great JUCO school in Missouri called Crowder that really was a good JUCO school. And we also had a couple really good D1 baseball teams in Missouri. And like, I think I could have played that path out, but going to Crowder was in the middle of nowhere, Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just shithole.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, do I want to go spend the next 2 years of my life here? Not really. And so I ended up just going to the University of Missouri to party, join a fraternity, and do the college thing.
I'm looking at you for our audience when they see the YouTube podcast aspect of it. You're going to see you're pretty tattooed. When did you get your first tattoo?
So I did not start getting tattoos until 2017, I would say. And so it was like there were a couple things going on there. I had just gotten out of real estate and I was like, I'm never going to be in a space again where it matters. I never thought I would get tattoos. And, I started getting them and just never stopped.
How much of your body is covered right now? Is this more your arms? Do you have?
So I have 2 full arm sleeves and I have a leg sleeve.
And this journey is not going to stop right now. I'm assuming you're going to continue it.
No, not at all. Not at all. And like, I do it in like, I'll go in sprints where like for 6 months, I'm just like getting tatted all the time. And then I'll take a break for a while. Cause it's super taxing.
Yeah.
I've really, now that we moved down here and there's like much better artists down here and stuff, I've really been itching to kind of get back into it. I want to start working on like my chest and my back and everything, but I'm a big fan of tattoos.
How important is fitness in your life?
Fitness is, it's huge for me. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you talked about it with Julian a little bit, but at Wake Up Wealthy, we break life down into 4 areas. It's mindset, body, spirituality, and business. It's my true belief that, your business is a reflection of your mind, body, spirit. And so like, I'm constantly focusing on learning, constantly keeping my body where it needs to be, and constantly focusing on a spiritual connection through meditation and mindfulness. But fitness in particular is extremely important. I'd love to push myself, love to take on new challenges. I'm a big guy. I've always been strong, but like 2019, for example, like running, I'm not built to run, but I ended up training and going to run a 50-mile ultra marathon.
Oh shit. Good for you.
It was a great experience. And, in the middle,
so tough, huh?
Super tough. And like, honestly, in the middle of all that, I was like, dude, like running's the shit. Like I'm never going to stop doing endurance competitions and sports. But then kind of after the dust settled after my race, and when I looked back, it really, really took a toll on me mentally. And my body was totally out of whack. Like trained for 8 months.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like 50K.
8 months I was running, in the last few months, 40, 50 miles a week. I mean, I think I ran 1,000, 1,100 miles in 2019, and it was just exhausting.
And how's the wear and tear on your knees and all that? How's your body?
It was, so right now I'm about 20, 30 pounds bigger than I was when I ran all that, but it's still, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, I was just in pain. Yeah. But I do have, I like to think that I have a pretty indestructible body. We'll see, in 10 years or when I'm, 40, how I'm feeling. But,
I'm 43, buddy. I'm super active. I've been active my whole life, and it's shit doesn't heal the same way, right? You just have to alter and change the way you train. That's all it is, right? So you're trained more smarter, and your diet is a huge aspect. Supplementation and diet is a massive part of my life now, and that's what gets me by, right? And obviously sleep is a huge part, which a lot of people, as an entrepreneur, that's one thing we don't put a lot of attention to, which I think is become a big part of my life is the rest aspect of it as well. So long as you have everything balanced, you're fine. We're into your 40s. Fitter now in my 40s. Like I did the whole bodybuilding shows, and I was a lot bigger and all that when I was 19, 20. And then I went through endurance time. And then I've been doing martial arts my whole life. But now it's just more of I work out with my son. I was telling Julian, me and my 12-year-old, we train together. He's like a little buff, little ball of muscle. And we train together, and it's fun, right? And I am enjoying it again. So which is a huge aspect of training, right? Enjoying what you're doing, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why like every year I try to change it up a little bit. Like last year, I was going to, I was thinking about pushing on to some more endurance stuff. And this is when Julian and I really started to become close, and he started to work with us. And, he luckily was able to see the toll that it was taking on me. And I was still in it of just like, I need to push harder. And he was like, dude, why don't you take a year off of endurance? And he pushed me into jujitsu, which has been, cool. So I've been doing that since December. And I mean, it's been amazing. I'll do jujitsu for the rest of my life.
That's something I did for quite a few years myself. I think why I actually stopped BJJ was I was getting so many little injuries. Like my toes are all messed up. My fingers are all messed up. You're getting your knee on bellies and your ribs are messed up for 2-3 days. Like how's your body react with all that? Have you got any injuries from it?
I haven't gotten any injuries from it. Overall I've done pretty well. And the last few months with the move and like where our company's been at, and with COVID, like between December and March, I was going 5-6 times a week.
Oh, so you really hardcore.
I was going, well, everything I do, I go super hard. But in the last few months, I haven't been going as hard, and I'm really excited to kind of get back to a more consistent training schedule on the mats. But
do you train stand up at all, or just more you just focus on the mats for now?
Focusing on the mats for now. Like Julian's been getting me into some striking stuff since I moved down here, because he likes kickboxing a lot more. I like jujitsu a lot more, and so it's a good blend for us to get each other together and push each other into the other realms. But I haven't trained a ton of stand up, and luckily haven't had a lot of injuries. Guys around me that I've seen in the gym and whatever. Yeah, I've seen broken fingers, knee injuries, all of it. And
when you roll, there's no other cardio in the world like that.
No. And to your point too, it's like for anyone listening who's like considered jumping onto the mats and doing some BJJ, it's like, I really do, I just realized as you were saying that, credit a lot of like not being injured and like falling in love with the process there to the gym that I started training at, is a gym called Kokoro in Springfield. And like, they were very, very good about like easing you in and making sure you roll with the right people and teaching technique. I've visited some other gyms where they just kind of throw, baptism by fire. And I see a lot more injuries happen at those types of gyms than an environment where they are teaching you to train and teaching you the art versus just getting in there and fighting.
How, because obviously Julian came into your life and he explained how he actually was part of your program, and then ended up being one of your trainers and all this stuff. How important, and obviously he was a big advocate to get you to move to Austin. How important is he in your life right now?
I mean, that's a great question. Like Julian is, our business couldn't run without him, and my life couldn't run without him, And so like when Julian and I decided to come together, there was a real dark period at Wake Up Wealthy. Like when I started Wake Up Wealthy, things took off quickly. We were doing really well. There was a lot of buzz. We were having a lot of clients. And then what happened is I had a business partner at that time who we ended up splitting. And just because, how business relationships 100%. Go, like, we went our separate ways, and I was really left kind of lost after that. And Julian had been around for a couple months and saw a lot of the potential that was there. But whenever I lost myself, the business started to decline. And Julian was such a key role in getting me back to where I needed to be. And then once my head was back where it needed to be, the business obviously took off again. And so in that early stage of just him getting my head on straight and holding space for me on a day-to-day basis, and then obviously when he started to work with us, all the value that he brought to our clients and to our program and what we've built together. I mean, dude, he's my best friend. Like I have a truly special relationship with Julian.
It's very, very rare to find something like that. Like I've had numerous companies I've built and sold in 24 years of being an entrepreneur. And there's been a few times where I've brought in partners and they've never worked. I've had bad experiences with them, and it's been not the guys themselves, because a couple of them till this day we're actually really close friends. It was either they're outside, their family, or their wives, or something like that. I'm very lucky. I've been married. Yesterday was actually our 17th wedding anniversary, and
congratulations. That's awesome.
And my wife does not get involved in my businesses. She's just so laid back, so relaxed. She's like, just do what you have. She has a trust in me. And she's since I've known her for 17 years, married, we were dating for about 7. So she has that trust in me. But every time I brought in a partner, it was always that wife wanted to be the reception. That way, it was just always constantly, or let's go on vacation. It was just constantly. And I always want to be the hardest worker in the room. And then I would see somebody just kind of drift away and it's like, I can't do this. And I've always had, my grandfather was an entrepreneur back in Portugal, and he always had a saying that's in Portuguese, and it says socks, pairs are only made for socks. He had such bad experiences with partners. So it's nice hearing when you can connect with somebody and build that relationship is so special, right? Because obviously two great minds, everything grows at a more rapid pace, right? So I appreciate that, right? Which is very, very rare to find. So congrats on that aspect, which is essentially is a life partner in a way, right?
100%. I mean, dude, business partners and really just everyone at the executive level in your company. I mean, they're marriages.
100%.
You know what I mean? They're very important relationships. And when I even look at my last business partner inside of this business, I mean, we had something very special for a long time too. And it was a great scenario. But what happened is I did a bad job of leading him, and kind of to backtrack a little bit too, like coming out of real estate and then coming into, when I was just brokering call center deals for a while, like, because I was making, and I was a young guy, right? I'm still a young guy. But at 23, 24, 25 years old, you're making money. And I thought I was an entrepreneur. I thought I really knew about business. And it wasn't until I got into this business and started to build a team and had to really understand how to lead people, that I really became an entrepreneur. And that first business partner, I did a really bad job of leading him. And I always just expected him to be doing the kinds of things that I was doing. And it was just all around, it was just a bad job by me.
How long are you guys as partners? How long was that relationship?
About a year.
So it was pretty fresh still.
It was pretty fresh still.
How was the business running though? I mean, was it like, were you guys growing at a good pace?
We were spotty.
Yeah.
We were spotty. And, we'd have great months and then some smaller months and then, another big month.
Guys both full-time on it, or were you, one of you guys had another?
We were full-time. We were both full-time on it, but the problem was we had different philosophies at the time around how we wanted to run the business and what was going to create scale. And, this is why I always go back to, it was just my fault too, because I just didn't know how to scale this business, right? I didn't know what I thought I knew about business. And having to really that guy, that business partner, he's an asset that I wish I had now. I would kill for him to be back at the company under my leadership the way that it currently is. But you learn, dude. Like I had to learn that.
You know what? I'm not a very religious person, Brodie, but I do believe in karma. Everything happens for a reason. And I do have a strong belief in everyone has a purpose in your life. And we have this conversation always with people, whether somebody's in your life for a month, a year, 10 years, when it's time for them to go out of your life, you just have to embrace it and just let it be and take the positive, what you learn from it, right? Everything's a learning experience. I'm a strong believer that this all happened to you for Julian to come into your path, right? So it all happens for a reason, and you probably grew a ton from it. And like you said, now you go back and you wish, but that wouldn't, if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't have probably been where you are right now, right?
No, absolutely. It never would have happened. And like you said, Julian never would have come into the picture. And that was such a necessary component for making Wake Up Wealthy what it is today. And it had to happen. Things unfold exactly as they 100%.
Should. So Wake Up Wealthy. I love, when I heard when Julian was telling me what you guys do and take guys to camps and all, this is, I talked to Julian. I'm actually in the process of building a small, and this might be something we work together later on. I'm in the process of building a small little place up in Muskokas. It's the northern parts of Ontario, where we are, Toronto, Canada. And it's like wildlife. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm building 5 cabins. I got to I'm building this whole little area, which I want to eventually do retreats as well out of there. So it's kind of like what you guys do. So I love the whole aspect of how you guys just take somebody out in the wild and just break them down and rebuild them and all that. Where did that all start in your mind? How is this something that you kind of got mentored off somebody else? Where did that process of learning and developing that program come in your head? Because it's such an amazing thing for somebody to go through, right?
It is. And, and it was a result of a few different things. I had a mentor in my life who had done a similar type of event. He actually owned the ranch that we first did the event at in Northern Idaho. And so, he really he was leaning on me for like a year. He was like, dude, you got to do this type of event. You got to do this type of event. There's nothing like it. And, also as a result of just all the incredible physical challenge that I've put myself through, I am a guy who has really been born out of struggle and a lot of self-induced pain too. You know what I mean? For a 27-year-old, I've been through a lot. And learned so much from those experiences. It's really hardened me as a man, as an entrepreneur, and made me a better leader. And trying to take individuals through a similar process was definitely an inspiration for all of that.
Yeah, very cool. Where do you see Wake Up Wealthy? Say 2 years, 5 years from now, where do you see this company going?
So it's a great question, right? It's a question I'm asking myself on a daily basis. I mean, at a minimum, we want to, continue to bring guys through the brotherhood, through our events, through our business programs, and really develop better men. I mean, if the simple answer is I want to develop better men, one guy at a time for as long as I can, because of what that does for families, what that does for businesses, what that does for the opportunity that it creates in the marketplace. Like, I truly, truly just love what we do. Now, the more complicated answer to that question is I truly believe Julian and I are the best performance coaches for men in business around. And I think that as we develop and we work with more and more guys, there's a lot of directions that I want to take it. I think that every corporate team in the country should be on our performance system. I also think that, we are going to have enough data on men and getting them results inside of life and inside of business that, Wake Up Wealthy and the way of life that we teach, the mastery method, I really think it can be its own performance classification. I think it's something that will have certifications. I think it's something that will be taught at a much higher level by other teachers other than me. And, creating that and separating the performance system itself from me and from Julian and letting it.
Are you guys looking at, I apologize for stepping in, are you guys looking at building almost like a coaching program in a way where you're actually developing other coaches to franchise this other place, or just something where you guys always want to have your head off?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll always have our head office, but I can't carry this message by myself to as many people that need it. And so I think I will have to develop more trainers and help individuals create a business on their own using our blueprint. And I think that that's something that we will get into sooner than later.
That's awesome. I always ask all our guests a few questions. One is, Brodie, if you were to pass today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered?
Wow, that's so tough to encapsulate, right? But really, I would want to be remembered exactly as I am. You know what I mean? I say this: if I died today, I'm pretty happy with what I've done. I want to be remembered as a present father, a present husband, and someone who has held space and led transformation for other fathers and business owners. I think that's enough for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I always ask also superpower. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Dude, I think if you could, I think I would read minds. Like,
you would read minds, huh?
I think I would read minds. Yeah, I think that's the one.
Is it not a scary thing to read minds?
Well, hopefully you could turn it off. Like, hopefully it's by choice. But no, man, you could do so much with that. I mean, like we are, even Julian and I now, I mean, we're seers, we see things in men that they don't see in themselves. And, we have to interpret everything that is going on with them and make bets on what process they need to go through in order to take them where they need to go. And if I could read minds, my life would be a lot easier, and I would have a lot easier transformations to create.
How long have you been married now for?
2 years.
How was the transition for your wife to move to Austin? Obviously, she must be supportive that she's been doing the move.
Yeah, she's very supportive. My wife is, I would describe her exactly the way that you described yours. I mean, my wife doesn't get involved in the business, and she has had, the same delusional certainty in me that I have had myself throughout the entire process. There's been plenty of red flags for us and myself as an entrepreneur, but that level of certainty that I've had myself has bled into her, and she's been incredibly supportive. So, she's always just been down for whatever I thought.
Yeah, that's awesome. We are going to put on all the show notes, how to get a hold of Brodie and all that stuff like that, and Wake Up Wealthy. Is there anything you'd like to give the audience, a little lesson or anything like that?
Dude, really, I like to leave people with the fact that like we're there if you need it, and not at a coach, not at a provider level. Like it's simply just if you're going through something and you need someone to hold space, like I'm available, my team's available. If you're struggling with addiction, like I will drop everything I'm doing to get someone where they need to be. Like this thing isn't all about money, right? Like I've found plenty of ways to make money, and what I truly believe in is helping individuals through what they're going through, right? Because being a human isn't fucking easy.
No.
It's super hard just to be alive. And I've been to the deepest, darkest parts of myself, and I know exactly what it's like. And there are tons of people listening to this who are feeling that or have felt that. And there's an open ear and a helping hand with Wake Up Wealthy.
That is awesome, brother. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
That's a wrap, everyone. I want to thank Brodie for taking time out of his busy schedule to be a guest on the Jeff Lopes Inc. podcast. Great young future for this young entrepreneur and Wake Up Wealthy. If you guys enjoy this podcast as much as I did, tell your friends, tell your family. We're trying to build something special like all weeks. Leave a review. 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. Until next week, everyone, always move forward.